Welcome everyone to Real Talk Baseball. Tonight we have first half recap, buy lows, sell highs, and bust and breakouts, all coming up on Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. All right, welcome everyone to Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. Before we get started, if you could just please like this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So as you can see, Javi is not with us today, but we got Kev Mo taking his place for the moment.
Yep.
How's it going, Kev? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Hanging in there.
Yeah, it's been a little bit more eventful this week than I kind of thought it would be. Just All-Star break and honestly, I feel like this is the first time that I've been actually really excited for this All-Star break. The Home Run Derby was really exciting.
So
All-Star
good.
game was amazing. Finally, the National League took over.
Yeah.
It's about time, man. But
Yep.
I think Javi called it. He actually said that the National League was going to win this season.
Did he?
I
Nice.
Yeah, I really didn't think so, just because I was looking at the lineup of the league. They were just freaking stacked, man. Ohtani in the lineup. But honestly, though, Ohtani didn't do anything.
He didn't, yeah.
Game, I don't know. Maybe he's playing a little conservatively because of the blister. Because
I thought he wasn't going to play at all because of the blister. I mean, he's having such a killer season. I thought that any little thing. That's why at first I was kind of leaning towards the National League too, because I was like, well, maybe Ohtani's not going to play and McClanahan's not playing and blah blah blah. But I mean, hey, I'm glad. Obviously, I'm glad National League won. So that's cool. But you're right, dude. The All-Star break was awesome, and I love that they switched up the. I usually don't follow the MLB draft that much. I do like the first couple of players just because I'm interested, but I like that they switched it to where it was like, that was on Sunday. You had the Futures game Futures game. You had that, and then you had the All-Star game. It's like it flowed so well, and I thought it was pretty cool. And the Home Run Derby. Whew, good one.
I know, man. That was really exciting. The only thing about the first round player draft or whatever you call it. Sorry.
First year player,
I don't like my Rob Manfred, and I don't think anyone else does. So it kind of sucks that he was presenting all the awards. It was really cool that that was really cool. I wish that they would kind of have like an honorary type of host, or someone different every year. Kind of like an award show, how like the Oscars have like Chris Rock, and then Kevin Hart, and then random presenters every year. So that'd be kind of cool. I
think so too. I agree.
Out there, there's guys that are actually like Pete Rose comes to mind, where we know that he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like Rob Manfred already said, like no, he's not going to be forgiven, and he broke rule number 1, blah blah blah. But it'd be really cool to see him maybe
be involved.
Be involved in something.
Some way. Yep.
And maybe not go in the Hall of Fame as a player or a coach because he's already out of there, but maybe be an announcer and be in, a different type of Hall of Fame, maybe ESPN or something like that. I don't know. Let's just have the comments. We got some comments already. Javi says, called it, homie. What's up, fellas? What's up, Javi?
What's up?
Wish you were on the show with us, man. Jamal, I didn't forget about you, man. I'm just gonna wait to show your comment until we get to the trade section of the show today. And Tony says, "What's up, fellas?
What up, Tony?"
Will has a picture of Manfred on his nightstand.
He throws darts at and shit.
It's covered in holes all over.
There you go. Yeah,
and burn holes from my cigars. All right, let's get right into it. Let's see. So first up, I actually want to talk about some busts first. I have the ADP here. So number 1 overall in most fantasy leagues this past season was Trey Turner. And Trey Turner has been a huge disappointment this year. This kind of just shows the comparison from last year to this year. So this year, he's points per game is at a 3.02, which is actually really not that bad.
Right.
3 points a game is great for a 6th or 7th round pick.
It's a good player,
when
yeah.
you're going number 1 overall, man, you want these like 2022 numbers where it's 4.03 points per game. A 303 batting average last year at this time. This year, it's at a 347. The counting stats actually aren't that bad, at least for runs and stolen bases, but 10 home runs compared to 14 last year and 32 RBI compared to 68 last season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the biggest one right there.
Right.
I mean, he was in a different kind of lineup. The Phillies are not the Dodgers. And Trey Turner had a lot more chances to get some RBIs last season. And with that batting average that he had last season, he was going to see a lot more counting stats. So,
and honestly, the stolen bases are underwhelming this year. Right there, it looks like, obviously it's more than it was last year by 2, but with how the bigger bases are and how stolen bases have gone up as a whole, I mean, you would think it would be higher, and not only by 2 from Trey Turner. It should be like a lot more.
Yeah, I would think that he'd be closer to like Ronald Acuna now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like 30, but he's not reaching base at 380 like he was last season. So less opportunities to run. It makes him suffer kind of all around the place. So
absolutely,
that is the biggest bust, honestly, that I have for this season for hitters. The biggest bust, I think, we've talked about him a lot, is Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go too much into detail with Sandy Alcantara because we've already mentioned him a few times, this season. So the next guy I want to talk about is Corbin Burns, second biggest bust, I believe, of this season, just because he was, first round, early second round pick this season. The points per game actually don't do it justice as to show like how bad he's actually been this season, because last season, 20.48 points per game last season is pretty good. 17.20 this season is actually not that much less when you think about, only 3 points less per week. It's not that bad, but that's just in points leagues. But if we're talking categories leagues, that is look at the strikeout difference.
Yeah.
144 strikeouts this time last year, and this year it's only 102.
That's what he was known for, is just striking people out and not not walking anyone. Look at the whip, and it's significantly, he's not the same. I mean, and again, like, we're talking about busts relative to their ADP. He's still like serviceable. He's still a good pitcher. I mean, like, in a categories league, he is hurting you more, but I mean, it's just relative to the ADP, it's, people are pretty upset, and rightfully so.
Yeah, in most leagues, he was going around 13 or 14 overall. So to get this type of production in the end of the first round, at the first, second round turn, this is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I guess the only silver lining that I see is he only has 4 losses, so at least you're not getting super negative points from that. Last year he was at a 7.4 win-loss rate. This year he's only at 7.5. So that's not too bad. But you're also giving up, every time he gets a hit, that's a negative 1 point. Every time he gives up a walk, that's, in our league, it's a negative 0.5.
Yeah.
In some leagues, it's a negative 1. So that whip is a huge difference right there. That's almost 30 points lower last year than it is this year. So Corbin Burns, I don't really know what else to say about him. Let's go on to the next one. This one isn't so bad, but I still feel like I want to put him on there because he was going, first round, number 5 or number 6 overall this season, and that's Juan Soto. Or I've heard him being called Juan Succo this season. He actually doesn't have too much difference in numbers between last season and this season, but he sucked last year too.
Yeah. So I mean, these numbers are like, I was basically going to say exactly that. Like, last year was already worse than what he normally was, and then at the start of this season, he started off so bad. And honestly, he had a pretty decent last month, and I think a lot of these numbers are inflated just off that last month. So who knows? He could be turning it around a little bit more. But I mean, if it almost would do it more justice to show like 2021 numbers, because it's a big drop off, like, from that for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned his numbers were kind of on the incline the past couple months.
Yeah, slightly.
In May, he batted 333. In June, he batted 295. Now, those are definitely some Juan Soto numbers.
Right.
5 home runs in May and 4 home runs in June. So I like what I'm seeing there.
Yeah.
And even though it's a small sample size in July, only 37 plate appearances, 28 at bats. He's batting 179. But that on base percentage is still there, dude. 351 on base percentage to go along with that 179 batting average. So in points leagues, he is still extremely valuable. Not first round caliber type of production, but not enough to make me want to go out and trade him or something.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go. We got another comment here. My bad, dude. School and home project got me a little occupied. I'll be there next week for sure. Sounds good, man.
No worries.
With you when you're not here. I actually tried to get Carlos on the show also, but he is having a little bit of technical difficulties as well. And he just texted me that his neighbor's house is on fire.
Oh,
yeah. I got to text him later. See what's going on. Hopefully everything's all right.
Yeah, I hope everything's good, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right. So that is the bus that I had for that I got the graphics ready for. Did you have any other names in mind that you might want to mention?
No, honestly, those were, you kind of stole the ones right out of what I was thinking. Yeah, I mean, that's for the most part what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, I was going through ADP, and I kind of went through like the top 100, and there's other ones that we could mention. JT Realmuto, that's kind of been,
Manny Machado.
Yeah, Manny Machado. But, I feel like those guys that are going, where was he at? JT Realmuto going 39 overall.
Yeah.
He's a catcher, and you can't really expect too much from a catcher anyway. 39 is the 4th round. So 4th round production, I'm not really expecting. It could really go either way.
I think I agree, and that's kind of why I kind of left him off, is because of the whole catcher thing. I think he almost gets a little inflated because he is, or was the top catcher, especially in categories, because he steals bases. But I guess, yes, relative to where he's at and to the rest of the catchers, he is a bust. But again, it's production wise, it's not too bad. And I brought up Manny Machado, and again, it's kind of similar to Soto. I feel like he's turning it around too right now. So it's kind of, some of these guys I was kind of teetering on bust, because it's hard to say when they're going out and starting to do what they're doing the last month.
Yeah, Manny Machado has actually turned it around.
Pretty solid.
Solid. Yeah. So far in July, he's batting 406. So again, a small sample size, but he's definitely trying to turn things around. And he's on a team that if they get hot, they could actually make a run for division winner. They're not that far behind the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. So
and they have way too much talent.
They got the skills.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's go into your sell highs. So,
all right.
So Kevmo's sell high. The first one we got here is Lane Thomas. Go ahead and take it.
All right, guys. Lane Thomas. I think a lot of people before this season might not even have really known too much of what he is. He's been in the season, or in the league, I think it was about 5 seasons before this. And so right now his numbers look solid, and he's been pretty good producer, as you can see on the graphic here. 14 home runs, 8 stolen bases, 302 average. Been pretty solid. But if you look back at his history, this guy is the kind of guy who's a 250. He's a 250 hitter for his average. And his home run total last year is already he's 3 away from that. So I mean, obviously people break out and they can turn things around. But I mean, if this is the kind of guy that you want to, really rely on, then cool. I think you might be able to sell high on him and turn him into something else that might be something a little bit more reliable. Or, I mean, especially if you got to know your league, but if you're with some guys that are some of these guys that we're talking about that are starting to turn things around, maybe you can package Lane Thomas and something for, even these guys that we were talking about, like Soto or Machado, that if people are freaking out, obviously, like we said, they're turning things around. So I don't know if you could be able to do those people exactly, but that's why it's sell high. This guy has been helping people all season, especially like in a categories league with the averages or with like the average and RBIs and stuff. But um, actually points league too with his batting average. But yeah, I would say that I would expect his numbers to come back down to earth if I had to guess. I don't know if we lost Will here or if they lost me.
Sorry, I had my my microphone muted.
All right, we're good.
I completely agree. Pre All-Star break, Lane Thomas has never had this type of production before. Stolen bases have always kind of been there. He's usually been like a stolen base standout, actually. And 14 home runs this season. In last season, he had 548 plate appearances, which is basically playing a full season. He had 17 home runs total. So now to have 14 home runs just before the All-Star break, I feel like you might be able to get something, pretty good in return for him.
If people are just looking at the numbers right now, they're going to say, "Whoa, this guy's killing it," and just take advantage of that because, I mean, I don't think he's going to end with 30 home runs.
Yeah, and there's a lot of struggling pitchers out there that are easy buy lows, So Lane Thomas could maybe if you have a pitcher that's kind of like a mid-tier talent, kind of bundle Lane Thomas and another pitcher for a struggling pitcher like Corbin Burns, or I don't think anyone's going to give away Corbin Burns for that type of price, but just throw it out there. And if someone is actually interested in trading for Lane Thomas, they will just send you like a counter offer, and hopefully you can work out a deal before the deadline's over.
Right.
All right, going next to your next sell high, we got Jorge Soler.
Jorge Soler. Actually, I'm kind of bummed that Javi's not on here because I know that he has him and he's been kind of carrying him a little bit this season. But Soler, I mean, look at his home runs, man. 23. Obviously, you're not getting steals from him. I mean, his average is going to be right there where it's at. But Jorge Soler is, he's got the top 10 in X-Slug and also top 10 in X-Woba, top 5 max exit velocity, and so all those things are awesome. I was looking at his numbers, and I kind of saw he almost has an every other year type of thing, and so technically this would fall into the every other year where he has a ton of home runs. But I think I was looking at it, he has I think it was other than 2 years ago and then 2 years before that, he had over 13 home runs. Every other year, he hasn't hit more than 13. And whether it's just big slumps or injuries, he is a guy that just hits, doesn't usually perform that well. So this guy right now, especially, if someone's looking at the power and whatnot, if you can, afford to lose out on some of the home runs, I don't necessarily expect him to have a crazy amount of production still going forward. And I also saw that he is a big splits guy. So he had, let's see what I got here, 66 at bats, and he is 10 of his 23 home runs are against lefties. He's batting 333. He's batting 233 against righties. So half his home runs in May alone half of his home runs were from May alone. So, if you take those, take May out of it, that's already half of his home runs. And, if he's going to have those bad splits, that's going to be something that, is going to kind of, work its way out. And Jorge Soler, I don't know if he's going to be the crazy league-winning home run guy for you. And he might be because he's done it before. He's hit 49 in a year, but he's also hit 13 in a year. And, see where he ends up.
He's always been the type of guy that hits the ball extremely hard.
Super hard.
He has an average exit velocity over his career at a 91.3 miles an hour. Anything over 90 miles an hour is amazing. And we've seen this guy max exit velocity at almost 118 miles an hour in 2021. So it was 117.6 last year, 117.9 the year before. He's never had a max exit velocity under 114 miles an hour. and that is just incredible.
Insane, yeah.
In itself, I kind of like the lineup that he's in also, hitting behind guys like Luis Arias. That's the reason why his RBIs are so high. The Marlins actually have a pretty decent lineup, pretty decent pitching staff. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of make a push for the division as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that was Kevin's sell high. Let's go with my first sell high, which I think might be a little bit of a shocker for a lot of people.
Ooh.
And that is Elly De La Cruz, the phenom from this season. So far, he only has 126 at bats. But dude, did you watch the game where he throws? He stole 3 bases in the same play.
Yeah, that was insane.
It was the same at bat. He stole second, he stole third, and he stole home. That's like unheard of. I think I read somewhere that hadn't been done since like the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's been like 60 years basically since we've seen something like that done.
Crazy.
325 batting average. That's definitely not sustainable.
No.
887 OPS. I could see that. He hits the ball extremely hard, harder than anyone else on the Reds. That's for sure. And 16 stolen bases is extremely valuable. I feel like in a categories league, he is very valuable. The Reds have a very scrappy lineup that just they get on base, and this is the type of guy that's he's gonna show that the RBIs and the runs are gonna be there because of that reason, because he's in that lineup and playing in Great American Ballpark.
Yeah,
Great American Ballpark is amazing for a guy that hits the ball this hard.
Right.
The only thing with Elly De La Cruz is I feel like people are not taking into a factor that he could slump at any moment. He's a rookie. He's 21 years old. Can he sustain this? A 325 batting average? Definitely not. I think he's maybe closer to like a high 270s, maybe low 280s type of hitter, like we've seen him in the past before. And maybe not. Maybe he'll just be like a David Ortiz type and just go out there and just mash every single season. But I feel like you could easily just kind of like sell this guy because of all the hype around him and go out there and get some solid pitching. Right. Everyone could always use some extra pitching in their lineup. And
man, I feel like someone did that in our league, man.
Yeah, I wonder who that was.
No, that was
that
was me. That was smart, man. I think in a dynasty league, it may be a little bit different because I think this guy could be, killer for years to come. But I think especially in our type of keeper league where it's only keep 5 and we're gonna kind of change it next year or whatever. I think it was really smart, and you went out and got Zach Gallen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I that was a pro move in my opinion. That was great. No disrespect to Javi, but I mean, and again, it's all about like where you're at in the game, and in the standings, and where you feel like where you're going. But it is a shocker to some people to sell high on Elly De La Cruz, but again, it depends on where you're at and what you need. And Will felt like he needed pitching, and if you have Elly and you feel like you need pitching, you can capitalize on it, and you can do it, and it's smart too, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think in my case, it was actually the right thing to do because I have Manny Machado, because I have Austin Riley. So
yeah, you had plenty. Yeah,
my third baseman is pretty locked up. Now I could have put him at shortstop also, but I also have Wander Franco, who's been an amazing standout this season, and I also have Carlos Correa. So I do have 2 shortstops. Carlos Correa has been known as a guy that gets hurt pretty often, but I also have Wander Franco. So I'm hoping that I can at least have one of those guys healthy all season long. So that way my shortstop position is already locked up. I don't have to worry about it too much. And this season we went down to 10 teams. So it's not going to be too hard to find a shortstop replacement in the waiver wire in case I need to.
Right.
All right. So that was Elly De La Cruz. And my second, now this one shocked me because I really did not expect this coming. I thought this guy was just going to be terrible for the rest of his career because we've seen that, 2-3 years in a row. And this is a big sell high for me. If I had this player, I would go out there and try to sell him right now, especially for pitching. And that's going to be Mr. Cody Bellinger, ex-Dodger.
Belly.
current Cub. And there's actually been some real Major League Baseball talks about him possibly getting traded to the Yankees. A couple other teams have been in talks. So last season, a 210 batting average. This is the whole season. 210 batting average with 19 home runs for the season. That's really bad. 70 runs scored and 68 RBI from a former MVP. That 210 batting average, like, dude, a 654
So
OPS, that is just terrible. And because of the way that he's been playing the last couple of years, in some leagues he didn't even get drafted, and he was constantly getting dropped and picked up. But this season, the production seems to be there. He is on a bit of a weak lineup, but with the trade deadline coming up, he could potentially be a number 3 or number 4 in a really solid lineup. So there's a lot of teams out there that could really use an outfielder or even a DH. But they could easily, like, I could see him being on the Phillies. And
I can see that too.
Taking over for Schwarber, because Schwarber has just been terrible this season also. I didn't put him as a bust because he got drafted so low as well.
Right.
But Cody Bellinger in a Phillies uniform, I think that would turn some heads.
I think I'm with you, and I also, but I have to say, I think as much as I don't like the Yankees, I think the Yankees, I think his dad played for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
He, with the short porch and Bellinger's, big lefty swing. I mean, his home runs, you can expect more for sure, just for being in that stadium. With Judge being out for as long, I think the Yankees are going to be in on some of the big names, like we were saying. Obviously, Ohtani, if that happens. If the Padres kind of go on a skid, maybe Soto, and then I think that this would be the guy that they're going to end up wanting to go after. And I think Bellinger would probably like to be a Yankee as well. Again, with same thing with the porch and his dad being on the team, he'd probably, not that he has. I don't know if he has a choice with. I'm sure he doesn't have a no trade clause being on a short contract and how bad he was last year. But yes, I'm with you. Sell high on him right now, because you saw what he did last year. We've all seen the slumps and the rises and falls of him. And if people are looking at it going, oh yeah, Belly's back to what he was his MVP season or whatever, then yeah, go capitalize on it, man.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Cody Bellinger's StatCast page right now also, and his real numbers look good, but his expected numbers do not look good. He has an expected batting average of 248, an expected slug of 392. So that's pretty bad.
Right.
The K rate has been a pleasant surprise for him this season. Last year, it was at a 27.3%, and the year before was 26.9. So those were like the two worst seasons for him. This season, he's down at 17.6. It was actually right in line with his MVP season. His MVP season was a 16.3% K rate. So it's only about 1 point higher.
Yeah.
Walk rate is still pretty low. It's at 8.2. I'd like to see that tick up a little bit, closer to like maybe 2020 numbers when he was at 12% walk rate. But I feel like there's a lot of people out there that don't look at expected stats. So you could really get away with selling him just for like the surface value, seeing the 298 batting average and the 9 home runs. He looks like he's on a 2020 pace. And, this season, there's a lot of guys on a 2020 pace, but not with a 298 batting average. So,
right.
And the name sells him,
absolutely.
He was part of the World Series team. So I feel like that is in itself enough to try to get some pretty good value in return.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. That was my second. So we are done with the sell high segment. Going into the buy lows. Actually, we have a couple comments. Let's see. Tony says, I have Belly. What can I get for him? Dude, you're the king of trades. I don't know why you're asking us, man.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Tony.
I mean, shoot him out there. I don't know if anyone in our league is really going to bite at that, just because a lot of the teams in our league are Dodger fans, and
right.
I felt like Belly just kind of like left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, because of the last couple of years that he was in the Dodgers uniform, and it's all Kike Hernandez's fault. I'm just gonna be out there and I'm gonna say it. Why you trying to mess up Belly's arm with that hard? Yeah, during the World Series, like, come
right.
on, let's do a chest bump. Let's not
just a little one of
lock
these
shoulders or
high
something.
or handshakes,
Yeah, exactly. Like let's let everyone try to stay healthy, man. We're in 2023 and we know a lot of baseball players are soft. It's not like we got like the Ripkins of the world anymore that
right.
can play 6,000 games in a row. Let's try to keep everyone healthy, which actually MLB is making some strides towards keeping everyone healthy with the National League DH, with the
right.
banning of trucking at home, the third base burn, so I like what I'm seeing from MLB, and let's see, hopefully some players can, try to be a little bit more cautious as well.
To answer your question, Tony, I think we're going to go over some buy lows. One, the guy that I'm going to first talk about might be a little bit harder now after what he's doing currently. But I would say, trying to go after some pitching maybe. And I think, and I don't have to, like we said, Tony, you're the king of trades, so this. But like you have to know your league. You have to know the players in your league. Like Will said, Billy left a bad taste in a lot of Dodger fans' mouth. But and for me, I'm actually, I want to root for Belly. I still have a Belly jersey. I'm like, who knows? So I don't need outfield right now. So it wouldn't be me, but like you got to read your league. Maybe flip some stuff out there. Just talk to people. Oh yeah, I think Billy might be turning around. Okay, perfect. So I see you got Dylan Cease and blah blah blah, and you never know. So
yeah, Dylan Cease could be like a buy low also.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like so you might be able to do something like that, and if that person needs outfield, don't just throw it out there unless the guy actually needs an outfielder or potential first baseman. Now that he's playing first base a little bit again, but yeah.
Yeah, Tony's laughing when
all his fault.
That bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shipped his ass off to Boston. So
that's right.
Probably because they were salty about him hurting
breaking Belly.
breaking the MVP. Like, come on.
Yeah, you broke him.
All right. Well, you brought it up, so let's go ahead and get into it. Evmo's first buy low. We have Yu Darvish.
Yu Darvish. Look at this ERA, guys. 4.87. This is not the Yu Darvish that we all know. He's usually around a 3.50, and he's going to come back to it. Again, it's hard for me to say this. Now he literally is pitching against the Phillies today. He's gone 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. So he might already be turning it around. So you might have missed your window to buy low already as it is. But his expected batting average is 233. So I believe I'll make this short and sweet. The second half bounce back is coming, and it might have already started today against some, not a fantastic Phillies lineup, but it's a decent Phillies lineup. Especially got to consider the Phillies actually beat up on the Padres pretty often. So I think Darvish coming out and doing this today, that buy low window might have closed, but hey, float some offers still if people might think that because he got extra rest or something that he's not going to be this. But 487. I'm not a huge Yu Darvish guy. I blame a lot of 2017 World Series loss on Darvish. Obviously the cheaters as well, but Darvish is part of it. A scandal year. But I'm not a huge Darvish guy, but I would still got to separate your heart from the game. If you're playing fantasy, I would buy low on him if you still have that opportunity. But
you mentioned the 233 expected batting average. He also has a 368 expected ERA. So
right.
that the Major League Baseball ERA is pretty inflated. But
yeah,
because we're seeing that expected ERA, I feel like expected ERA is going to be lower in for a lot of pitchers because of the ban of the shift.
Sure.
A lot of times the ball is on the floor, on the ground, and
a lot more.
These balls are just finding holes because there is no shift right now.
Yeah.
that could be the reason, one of the reasons for his inflated ERA compared to his expected stats. But yes,
right.
I completely agree. I think that Yu Darvish is a great buy low. If you can, go ahead and just throw some offers out there.
Throw them out there.
I actually wouldn't mind, throwing some offers out there also. But the problem is, in every league that I'm in, it's all keeper leagues. So I don't think anyone's going to want to get rid of Yu Darvish as a keeper unless he was like super expensive,
right?
Like a salary cap or something like that. All right, going to your next one. All right,
we got
Riley Green.
Riley Green. It's a quick little thing, guys. I went ahead and sent my buy low to Will, and then about 3 minutes later, he went and picked up Riley Green. I
had to take the graphic off so that way everyone can see the smile on my face.
I mean, I had equal chance to pick him up, so I can't be mad at him. But I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about picking him up. I might have needed someone for a little bit, for a couple games here while someone's coming off the IL. But Riley Green, small sample size, but he's hitting 305. He's got, let's see, expected batting average of 277. So obviously right now his average is great, 305, but an expected of 277 is still really solid. 6 home runs, 6 stolen bases, but this guy is a high upside guy who, when he's on, he's pretty solid. AAA numbers were insane. Yes, it's minor leagues, but the guy was just raking. 2 games back, he's 4 for 7 with a home run. So, he's a high upside guy. I think a lot of the guys in our league would know that I'm kind of a prospect guy a little bit. I like a lot of the young guys. I have an affinity for them. They something about him, but he's just got like good confidence at the plate. He makes good contact. He's not on a good team, but he's going to hit it high on the in the lineup. But he's just a guy that he's going to get you, especially in a categories league. He's going to get you your numbers. He's not going to like win you the league with any particular thing, but he's going to be pretty solid. You can buy low, and in some leagues you might even be able to just pick him up off the waiver wire. Will, so you might, but I would say take a flyer on him. Depending on what you have, or if you have, like I was gonna say, like I had a guy in an IL spot. I need someone for a couple games. He was hot right before the break. Pick him up, plug him in, see if he stays hot. Give yourself a good problem to have, and see who you want to drop when guys come back healthy or whatever. I think Riley Green has the makings to be a pretty good player in this league, and I think we kind of got robbed of a little bit of his of this breakout potential season with his injury. But we'll see how the second half goes.
Yeah, Riley Green was actually drafted number 6 overall in 2019. So he is
prospect pedigree.
He was a high top prospect in the Detroit organization. He always had some hype about him, always. But like you said, the injury concerns like that kind of like pushed him down a little bit. He did play injured a little bit last season, which is why his numbers did not look as great, maybe as they are now. But maybe this is the Riley Green that that we could actually see going forward. And outfielders in most leagues that have like the 3 outfielders, a couple utilities, maybe this guy could still possibly be out there. Probably not, because he's been a little bit hot for a little while.
Yeah.
But I definitely recommend picking him up. I feel like this is just the beginning of the breakout for Riley Green. He had his slump last season. And I feel like now that he's healthy, we could actually see some pretty decent production. And next year, I think he's actually going to get drafted a little bit higher than he has, this season or even last season. But yeah, I completely agree with that one too.
Definitely not position-wise, or obviously, he hits from the other side. But for some reason, I just get like a Jonathan India vibes. Like he is not going to, I guess maybe not as many steals, but like he's just going to hit the ball, get you some decent average, maybe a little bit of pop, some steals. He's just going to be very serviceable, and as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I like the K percentage. It's under 30%. We've seen him strike out a lot. So under 30%. I like to see that in a rookie. He's not really a rookie anymore. Last year was his rookie season, but he's still a rookie. Like, because he's
plate appearance and game wise,
22 years old,
Yeah, think about that, especially in potential keeper or dynasty leagues, guys. Like 22 years old. Whew.
Yeah, if you can get him for cheap, like that would be.
Go ahead and drop him, Will. I'm starting to like him even more.
Hey, honestly, the only reason why I picked him up, I think I told you this also, is because Yandy Diaz went on the paternity list.
Yeah.
So I only need him for the weekend. And
right.
After the weekend, I'm probably going to let him go also.
Right.
We got 4 new comments, so let's see. We'll be doing that all the time. Hey, you do that too, Tony. Tony picked up Jaron Duran. And dude, I was like all over him the morning of, and I was like, I don't know who to drop, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then later on, he ends up picking him up. So I'm texting him like, bro, you just stole my player.
Yeah, reading minds, dude. He's done that to me too. I can't remember who, but he did that to me, and I was like, what? Did I text you that?
Let's see. He also says Carlos and I would send our picks, and 5 minutes later he would pick them up. Yeah, I mean, I got to get every advantage I can.
It's free game, yeah.
I'm playing against you guys, so I'm not gonna let you one up me.
Absolutely.
I'd rather be the one that runs up, ones up you guys.
Absolutely.
And Hobby says he needs to stay healthy.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Buxton. Yeah, I like Buxton a little bit more than Riley Green. Buxton had a lot more pop in his bat.
More speed to it.
Yeah, and Buxton was more of like a defensive standout as well. Riley Green is not really known for his glove as much as Buxton was, so we're not going to see him going out there and making like these crazy diving plays that Buxton used to do. And that was the reason why Buxton kept on getting injured, other than getting hit by a pitch and some random things that cause injuries to Buxton. But I feel like Riley Green is a little more like Castellanos like, with a little bit less pop, so I could see him potentially being like a 15 homer guy, 15 with a decent batting average, 280 batting average going forward. All right, let's go. That was Riley Green. Let's go with mine. So my first buy low, and Justin Verlander. So former Cy Young winner from the 2022 season. We saw him throw 175 innings, 18 wins. That is just incredible right there. 185 Ks and 175 innings with a 1.7 ERA. Now, this guy just came back from injury not too long ago. And the 3.60 ERA, I really feel like he's not that type of pitcher. He's not done,
No.
The strikeouts, that's the only thing that really kind of worries me. But if you can buy low on Justin Verlander, I would completely do it. I think that Carlos actually just bought Justin Verlander in our league, and or maybe it's the other way around.
No, I think Tony.
So Tony's the one that bought
Verlander. Yeah.
Oh, here he is.
Just traded for him.
Yeah. So
whatever.
Good job, Tony. I told you were the king of trades, man. Once I saw that, I'm like, oh, great. Tony got another pitcher. But then I saw that he was number 8 in the standings, and I'm like, oh, well, whatever. It's fine. I'm back up in number 3. I told you I was making a comeback, man. Back up in number 3, and I don't even have Max Fried yet. Coming back, I think next week, I believe. So, and we got Tony laughing over here. Yeah, so Justin Verlander, I feel like a lot of people are kind of down on him. He's about to be 40 years old. Even though he was the Cy Young winner last season, just coming off an injury during spring training, and he missed like the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. A lot of people are going to be down on him, especially seeing the strikeouts right there. So if you can get him for cheap, I would definitely recommend trying to go out there and get him. I would try to make a trade for him.
I know. I've been trying to make a trade for him all season. I just, I like Verlander. And do you happen to know what his contract is? I think that the Mets might be sellers, and Verlander might not be on the Mets by August 2nd.
There's actually been talks about Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer both being on the trade block. So I don't know. I feel like he really needs to increase his trade stock for the Mets actually to want to trade him. He is very expensive. He actually signed a 2-year deal with the Mets for $86 million.
Oh, geez, yeah.
That's more than $40 million a year. I don't know what team is really going to want to pay that much for a guy that they're only going to have control for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So that's going to be it's going to be a little bit tricky to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Scherzer has been a little bit more consistent than Verlander this season.
Right.
In the beginning of the season, he wasn't doing too well,
right.
but he's straightened out since then. So I feel like Scherzer's trade stock is pretty high. So that one I could definitely see happening, unless the Mets all of a sudden turn things around and push for that wild card.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be able to get the wild card. Maybe they will, but they're 16 games out of first place in the National League. So
they got about 2 weeks to figure it out.
Division. Nope. That has the Braves written all over it.
All over it.
All right, going to my next buy low. Corbin Burnes, the guy that we talked about earlier.
Yes, sir.
A big bust. I mean, look at those numbers from last season. 243 strikeouts and 202 innings. The strikeouts are down this season, but I've already heard from him himself that the Brewers are not going to be selling this season. That they are going to be trying to take over the division. They're at least going to try to compete with the Reds and try to take over, because the Cardinals are just doing so bad this season. They don't really need to worry about them this season, and they're going to be sellers. We've actually heard from the Cardinals owners and personnel that they are going to be sellers before the deadline. So Corbin Burnes, I feel like right now you might be able to get him for a pretty decent price,
75 cents on the dollar type of thing.
Yeah. So why not, go out and try to get one of the greatest pitchers of this generation. And, I feel like if you have Corbin Burnes on your team, you might be sick of him and might want to trade him. If you do have him on your team, you're going to need him in the fantasy playoffs. So if you're listening to this show and you have Corbin Burnes, I would not sell. But if you want Corbin Burnes and you're listening to the show, hopefully the guy that you were trying to buy from is not listening to this, and he will go ahead and sell, and you can buy low on this guy.
Yep.
All right. So that completes the buy low, sell high segment. I do have some notes here. We got a little bit of time. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to those comments, because we had Jamal asking earlier, what's up, my dudes? Looking forward to watching the show. Do you think Dylan Cease and Giolito get traded before the deadline? So this actually is in part of my notes right here. But
sweet.
Let's hear from you real quick, Kev.
Yeah. So I was telling Will before the show, I see the White Sox making some moves. I think that they're looking at a big picture, and I know that division's pretty bad, but I think they're looking at a big picture and they're thinking fire sale. I know that they have 4 guys that they said were untouchables, and I know Cease and Giolito are not part of those 4. So I know Giolito has been linked to the Dodgers. I see that for sure, almost for sure happening, unless the Dodgers are going all in on Ohtani. But Giolito is from LA. He's in the LA area, so I have a feeling that's happening. And then the other one that I was telling Will that I think I see some things going down. There's rumors that the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are obviously in contention, they're basically tied with the Dodgers for first, they need some starting pitching as well, I would say. And they have a shortstop prospect, Jordan Lawler, who is supposed to be a stud. But the Diamondbacks also just drafted a shortstop in the first-year player draft. So I could see them packaging that, sending that for Dylan Cease to the White Sox, and then the White Sox going and part of the Giolito deal to the Dodgers, who need a shortstop, sending Tim Anderson. So, yes, I do think Cease and Giolito by August 2nd will not be on the White Sox, if I had to guess.
So what I saw from the White Sox is that they could have a fire sale this season. President of baseball operations for the White Sox says the 4 names that are not up for trade are Dylan Cease, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, and Andrew Vaughn. But the $1 Million Man from WWF back in the 80s had a saying, everybody's got their price.
Oh, for sure.
And that is the truth. It doesn't matter what player it is. If it's Ohtani, if it's Dylan Cease, if it's Corbin Burnes, whatever. Everyone's got their price. If you are willing to give up, or not you, but if Major League Baseball teams are willing to give up a certain amount of prospects to a team that is probably not going to be in the playoffs this season, or maybe even, a couple seasons from now, why would you hang on to any players to keep butts in the seats for, a few butts in the seats? Because honestly, fans want to see teams win. They want to see their teams win. They don't want to sit there and just go and try to plan out when the pitcher that they want to go and watch is going to be, pitching on a certain night. Like, if I'm going to a Phillies game and I'm like, oh, I want to see Zach Wheeler pitch, or I want to see Ranger Suarez pitch, how am I supposed to know when that guy's going to pitch? You never know. You never know if players are going to have the day off or whatever. So putting butts in the seats, like, that's good and all. But honestly, like, if you're not trying to win, what are you doing? That's not owner mentality. That's not manager mentality. You have to try to be in win mode all the time. And if you are not winning, you sell off your good pieces so that way you can win in the future. And that is what the White Sox did before.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they have what they have now. It's because they planned for the future, and the planning didn't really work out. So maybe it's time to start rebuilding.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've seen Cease. We've seen what he is. He's got the strikeout potential, but I don't know if he's the put butts in the seats kind of guy as much as maybe a young shortstop who, they've compared to, I mean, a Carlos Correa when he was coming up type of thing. That kind of stuff is what people like to see as an everyday player that puts more butts in the seats. So, like you said, everyone's got a price. I agree. You have to say who's non-negotiable, but I think people almost like the challenge too. I think they're like, you sure about that?
Yeah, exactly. Sure exactly. Same thing with Ohtani, man. Like,
exactly.
Everyone's got their price. The Angels can say, a million times that Ohtani's not for sale. But if you're that far back in the division and he's leaving the team after this season anyway, why not get, some really top prospects in return for him? And he's going to get a big return.
Yeah, for sure.
For whatever team might trade for him.
I saw like a Bleacher Report. I can't remember exactly who was all on it for like the Dodgers package for Ohtani, and I was like, I don't think that's even that big. If that's actually what's going on, I would pull that trigger.
Michael Bush,
and like Pages or something, and those guys are pretty solid. But I'm just like, I'd pull that trigger right now if that's what they're wanting. Do it.
I think it was like Bush, Bobby Miller, and a few other pieces that they said. And honestly, for Ohtani, if I'm the Ohtani owner, I want more than that.
100%.
Not fantasy wise, but
right.
In Major League Baseball, yeah. All right, so going over these news and notes, we have 52 minutes left. Major League Baseball Players Association wants to adjust the time on the pitch clock. There have also been discussions about shortening the MLB season, but when owners bring up lowering salaries, the Players Union quickly changes the topic of discussion. So, this is something that we've been talking about kind of off and on all season about the pitch clock, that Christian Yelich has said that he would like to see the pitch clock, give me 5 more seconds. That's all they're asking for is 5 more seconds. So I don't see a big deal with that. I don't think MLB would see a big deal with that either, especially because this is like a new rule where they didn't really like ease anybody into it. It was just kind of like, this is the rule now. So go out there and do it. It was like a few weeks of spring training to get used to it, and then that was it. And we saw in the beginning of the season a lot of balls and strikes were being called because of the pitch clock.
Right.
So I'd like to see an extra 5 seconds on the clock. Maybe if there was an extra 5 seconds, guys like Sandy Alcantara and Alek Manoah and Lance Lynn, maybe these guys are the ones that are suffering from the pitch clock.
Right.
And that would maybe help out a little bit.
Those who are suffering from the pitch clock, is only going to benefit them. Those who are doing good, it's not going to hurt them. Exactly. So I think it's going to just help baseball in general. Yeah. Yes, it's going to make the games a little bit longer, and I know that that's what the whole purpose was, but let's find the happy medium. Let's make baseball better, but also make the games a little bit shorter. And like you said, this is the first year. Let's play with it. If next year all of a sudden the games are way longer, instead of it being 5 seconds longer, hey, Yelich, let's do a happy, let's meet somewhere in the middle and make it 2 seconds longer. And, you got to deal with what it is. And I think since it's an early new rule, let's play with it and make baseball better.
So the current rule is 15 seconds with no runners on and 20 seconds with runners on. Why not just make it 20 seconds, all the time?
Yep.
That I don't think that's such a big deal, and I think the owners would actually agree with that because concession sales have dropped dramatically because the games are only 2 hours and 20 minutes. So
absolutely,
to make the game 2 hours and 40 minutes, instead of the old like 3 hours and 20 minutes, you're still saving a lot of time. So,
bro, you go get a dog and a beer, and you miss a whole inning.
Yeah.
So it's like
or more because
or more,
depending on the stadium.
And who's pitching, and
right.
they go quick and they get outs fast, and it's like there's been times where I go to the bathroom at home, I come back and I'm like, what happened? Like I just missed the whole inning. Like this is crazy. So
or not even like that long. Maybe I'll just go get go to my kitchen and just go grab like a snack or something, and then by the time I'm back, it's like,
bro, I got 2 little kids. As soon as one of them asks, "Hey, daddy," blah blah blah, I'm like, "Oh yeah, what happened? Game's over." Like,
how was there 3 outs already?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's actually been times when I'll just go to the bathroom and then I'll come back and watch the game, and a few seconds goes by, maybe even a few minutes, and I'll look down at the score and I'm like, what the fuck? How did the score change? What did I miss? And then I'm rewinding it to see what happened. And then
there was a double, a stolen base, and 3 RBIs. I'm like, bro, what? That's crazy.
Let's see. We got a new comment. What's up, dudes? What's up? What's up, World Profound?
What's up?
So are you a podcast, World Profound, or what's up? Let us know in the comments.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining the show, by the way.
Yeah.
And just to kind of throw it out there again, I said at the beginning of the show, if you could please just like this video, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 500 subscriers by the end of this season, and we have been growing pretty quickly this season. So it's nice. It makes us feel pretty good. So thank you. We appreciate you guys. Next, we have Cardinals president of baseball operations say they will be selling at the deadline with a focus on 2024. There's a lot of pieces in the Cardinals system that would be very beneficial for a lot of
teams.
A lot of teams out there,
Yep.
Let's see. World Profound says, nah, just a baseball fan who likes podcasts, bro. I appreciate that.
Perfect.
Man. Thank you for joining in.
Yes, sir.
We do a fantasy-based episode on Friday nights, and if you would like to hear more about just MLB news and rumors and just kind of everything going on in the baseball world, we have another podcast on Mondays, the same channel, and it is 2 other hosts that do that show. So yeah, we're here for you Mondays and Fridays, basically every week. So thanks for joining in. Next, we have Ohtani had a quote. When asked if reaching the playoffs has become a higher priority at this point in his career, he said, those feelings get stronger year by year. It sucks to lose. He wants to win, so it gets stronger every year. So that was actually the quote from his translator, but translating from Ohtani. So it looks like Ohtani wants to get traded, and it looks like he definitely doesn't have the Angels on his radar when it comes to free agency, and I don't think they can afford him anyway.
Right. I think that they're going to sit down and they need to. They need to just sit down with Ohtani and be like, are you going to re-sign with us? Like, let's be honest. And if he says no, let's be honest, then they'd be dumb to not ship him, not get a haul for him. So I think he's gone.
I feel like it would be different if it was a 27-year-old Mike Trout, and Ohtani would be like, I get to play with this guy for the next, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Trout's been hurt often.
He's hurt. He's 31. I feel like he's kind of coming close to the end of his career because he just keeps on getting hurt. He's hurt right now.
Yeah. He's gonna have to change up his game. He's gonna end up being a DH himself.
Yeah, and which he does not want because his glove is incredible.
He's a stud. Yeah, but I mean, this injury wasn't even him playing the field, but like obviously your injury risk goes up more doing that. So.
Talking about the Cardinals, Ken Rosenthal of is it ESPN or is it MLB Network now? I'm not sure. I remember he got fired. Rob Manfred fired him because of some comments that he made about Manfred himself. But anyway, he's still a personality out there. Flaherty and Jordan Montgomery are as good as gone. So those guys are definitely on the trade block, along with some other guys in the organization. I feel like everyone needs pitching. And Flaherty and Jordan Montgomery are the ones that people are probably going to be talking about the most.
Yeah.
Mets manager Buck Showalter spoke about Ohtani and the possibility of landing a $1 billion deal. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that any team is going to pay $1 billion for one player. we've seen $400 million contracts, $500 million contracts, and I think that
That's a big
Otani
jump.
is going to be closer to like a 600 million, maybe close to 700 million, but $1 billion.
Billion's crazy. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like for one dude, yes, I understand he is an elite pitcher and an elite hitter, but that's too much money for just one player.
Is this? I mean, like we've said before, like you can still get hurt, and it's still a lot of money into an asset. Regardless. I know it's a person, and like but it's a business, and it's a lot of money to pay one person.
And if that player does get hurt, you're not just losing a batter or a pitcher; you're losing both.
Both, yeah. It's double the risk. Yeah, it won't be that high yet. Obviously, contracts keep going up. Year by year, inflation and players there's going to be more players, playing both ways, and eventually, sure, but it's not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Let's have that conversation maybe in about 15, 20 years. I think that sounds a little more plausible.
Yeah.
So going back to the White Sox, Giolito, like you said, has been linked to the Dodgers, but also the Reds, and the Reds could really use a starting pitcher in their lineup as well. So Lance Lynn has been linked to the Rangers, so that's already two pitchers from the White Sox that have been kind of like already been in talks. So that's actually pretty exciting. I would like to see Lance Lynn in a different uniform, and maybe there's another team out there that can actually like pull the potential out of him that the White Sox have not been able to do. I feel like the White Sox are just very bad at developing their players.
Yeah,
there's so many assets on their team that they just don't know how to develop them, how to make them any better.
Right. I mean, wouldn't you love to see Giolito's development with the Dodgers? He's already pretty solid. I mean, he has potential to be so good.
The Dodgers, the Cardinals, and the Rays are notorious for developing pitching.
Yeah.
So I would love to see him go to any one of those three teams, especially the Dodgers, though, because, I'm a Dodgers guy.
Yeah.
Salvador Perez trade. Any potential suitors? Actually, I read something the other day saying that there have not been any talks on any Salvador Perez trade. I feel like any team that is in the playoff run right now, they have solid catchers in their lineup.
Right. So, I was looking at that too, and I was going down the list, and I'm like, I think everyone kind of checks boxes there. I mean,
the only team that I can think of that could really use an upgrade at catcher is maybe the Padres.
Yeah.
The Padres are so far like out of first. Like I don't know if they would waste a trade on that when they trade for pitching instead.
Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking the same thing with like the Yankees. I think that they could probably use a catcher, but I think that that's not high on their priority list. I think they're going to try to go after the bigger guys. It's not an older catcher. So, yeah, I was looking at that too. I'm like, maybe before the season you would say Texas, but Jonah Heim has been insane. So, I mean, I don't even know. Yeah.
Padres president of baseball operations says that they will be aggressive at the deadline, have already been linked to the Red Sox, Justin Turner and Adam Duvall. I hate that.
Me too.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't want to see Justin Turner in a Padres uniform. Hold on. Oh, where is it at? Here we go. Look at this. This is my boy right there.
Yeah. Dude, if you ask Justin Turner, he doesn't want to see himself in a Padre uniform. So, that's for sure a rental if I'm sure, but still that would just be so hard to see. I don't want to see that at all.
No, man. I mean, I still see Justin Turner as a lifelong Dodger. I don't care if he's on the Red Sox right now. Yeah. It's like he's from Long Beach, He grew up a Dodgers fan, and the only reason why he didn't re-sign with the Dodgers is because they only offered him a 1-year deal, and he doesn't want 1-year deals. He's getting closer to the end of his career. And at the end of your career, if there's other teams that are offering you multi-year deals when you don't know how good your game is going to be the following year, you're going to take that multi-year deal, So it kind of sucks. But I feel like I'm close enough to Boston where I could, take a drive and go see the Red Sox play. I actually am going to Fenway next month. I'm going to see the Dodgers when they
dope. That's cool.
Yeah. We're going on the Friday night, and it's going to be Mookie Betts appreciation night. They're going to do like a little ceremony for him.
Dude, that's rad. That's cool.
It's his first game back in Fenway since he got traded. So
that'll be cool. Yeah.
Like you said earlier, the Yankees have expressed interest in Cody Bellinger. Ken Rosenthal. No, I'm sorry. I already said that one. Nelson Cruz has been DFA'd by the Padres, which means that there is a DH spot open on their lineup. So maybe Salvador Perez could take a seat and
I'd hate to see that, but yeah.
Yeah, I like Salvador Perez as a DH. He's not
for sure
not the greatest defensive catcher out there. He's more known for his bat because I feel like he's the only catcher out there that could potentially hit 40 home runs.
Yeah.
We've seen that in the past. He is an amazing hitter, but he is a little bit on the older side.
Yeah.
He's in his younger 30s, but still as a catcher, when you've been doing it for that long, it takes a toll. You're out there every single day. It's not like a pitcher where you throw 100 pitches and then you get to rest for 5 days. This guy only gets to rest maybe 1 or 2 days a week.
Right.
So I'd like to see him in a different team. Wasting his time in Kansas City kind of sucks for the greatest catcher, in the league today.
Yeah.
Greatest hitting catcher anyway.
Hitting catcher, yeah.
So this is some big news that I was reading about because it's kind of all over the place. So Oakland's mayor Sheng Thao met with Manfred last Sunday to propose documented evidence for the city's plans to build a new stadium. In order for the A's to relocate, the owners of all 30 teams must take a vote, and there has to be at least a 75% of votes in favor of relocating. So now, with these plans actually in place, maybe the A's aren't actually moving. There was a reverse boycott with the A's, which basically means A's fans were buying tickets. They were going to the games because they wanted to show that there's still a lot of fans in Oakland. They wanted to show the mayor, who actually looks like she took it to heart, and they wanted to show the owner of the A's, like, look, man, we're still fans. We just haven't been going to games because you guys been sucking. So how about you throw some money into the team, into the stadium, and we'll still go to the games more often. No one wants to go and see their team lose.
Dude,
and when you're losing over 100 games a year.
Yeah, it's hard to
games.
It's hard to go. A's actually have A's not actually, but they have a great fan base, and younger fans don't really know that because the A's have been bad for a long time. So, but I'm talking to my dad, and he's like, "Oh man, the A's and blah blah blah," and it's like they've had such great fan base. It's Northern California, they have good fans up there as much as I hate, the Giants and stuff. Like they do. And it's just that, if they put some money into it and I like to see the A's. Maybe it's because they're crosstown rivals of the Giants too, but I would love to see the A's kind of resurge, kind of like how the Reds are doing right now. And they're, they've been bad for so long. It would just be good for baseball.
Yeah.
And it would be good for the Oakland A's to get good again, So, yeah.
They've already relocated once. They were originally from Philadelphia.
Right.
So
they've
built a fan base, like you said, since they moved. That was decades ago, so almost 100 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
So it's nice to actually see this from the mayor of Oakland. There's a pretty big gap. So California is a very long state, and in Southern California, you have 3 teams that are super close to each other. And then you have one that's kind of like central northern, which is Oakland. And then you have the Giants, which are basically all the way at the top.
Yeah.
So to kind of get rid of the A's in Central California, that's a lot of fans that wouldn't be able to watch baseball, at least in person. So I think staying in Oakland would be the best thing for the team, especially now that there's plans to build a stadium. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So unless you have anything else, we're basically done with the show. We are at 1 hour and 8 minutes. It actually went by really fast.
It did. It went by quick.
All right. Yeah. All right. I guess we're done. So this was Will Power and Kev Mo for Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. And make sure, if you haven't already, hit that like button on this video and subscribe. And we would really appreciate it. And make sure you tune in for our Monday episode with Carlo Baseball and Ernie Orange. I believe Ernie Orange is on vacation. He might not be able to make it, but hopefully Carlos will still be able to do the show. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you guys.
Later, guys. Go Dodgers.